All right, officially recording, and we have Lisa Sorvig on the call today, and we're going to talk about one of my most favorite topics, which is lead generation. I spend a lot of my time lead generating, and Lisa, I know you have so much experience around this because you were a KWTL. You were also a massive producing buyer's agent before that, and now you are in another transitionary period. If you want to kind of fill people in with a little bit of your background so people understand where you're coming with and why you should be able to talk about lead generation and why people should listen to you a little bit.
Awesome. Okay. So, yep, I've been a realtor since 2010. I got into real estate right after college. I kind of fell into it by being a bartender. I got pulled into real estate through being a bartender. And then I got onto a real estate team early on my career. And one of the ways we built our team was off of internet leads. So we were buying leads from Tiger Leads in Boomtown. And I was sometimes getting anywhere from 10 to 15 leads per day. I was the only agent on the team. So I built my entire career off of internet leads. And I was the top agent, buyer's agent in my market center for a couple years in a row. And then I went on to leadership at Keller Williams. And I learned the models and the systems of how to build a really big real estate business. And so now I'm focused on, as an agent again, and as an agent that coaches other agents, is it's all about the database and how you can use the database and the internet lead generation to create a robust CRM that you can scale from.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So I'm a realtor again. I'm super excited. And now I'm implementing everything we're going to talk about today.
I love the fact that you're on here talking to us because you have such an array of experience from being on a team. Like you were strictly a buyer's agent on a team, right?
Yep, just buyer's agent. I referred all my listings to my rainmaker.
Yes, so that's an incredibly hard role because being a buyer's agent is like some of the hardest work out there, and you're running a lot, and have firsthand experience of getting 10 to 15 internet leads in a day. Like my mind's blown right now on that fact. And then you transition to TL where you were coaching other agents on how to grow their businesses and also doing some recruiting for other agents in your marketplace to come to your brokerage. And now you're back at it as an agent. So like your transition.
I'm an individual agent. Yep.
Yes. So that's so cool to hear all those different in your experience behind those. Another thing I want to add is before we hopped in this call, we were kind of talking about how we want to what direction we want to take this. And we kind of initially were like, okay, we're gonna 100% talk about internet lead generation, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about database at the end. And you suggested, well, really we should talk about database first because that is really that's the first thing that comes before the internet lead generation starts. And I talk to a lot of agents in our marketplace, and I think a lot of people think that internet lead generation comes first, which will naturally lead you into growing your business. However, you and I are both on the same page of that's kind of backwards. It's a backwards way to do it for several reasons: cost and your turnaround time for how long those leads need to be nurtured and your systems in place. So do you want to kind of jump into that and kind of explain what I mean by all that?
Sure. Yeah, you're exactly right. And I think a lot of times as new agents, we want to focus on like internet leads because we don't have the confidence to work with our family and our friends. And we're like, well, at least if I screw up with an internet lead, they don't know me as well. Like I'm not going to see them at Christmas. And so a lot of times we think it's easier to talk to strangers, and at the end of the day, your greatest time spent, your greatest money you ever spent is on the 200 people you already know that already love you and think you're an amazing human being. So, and that's one of the transitions I experienced was when I went from a real estate buyer's agent to becoming a team leader. Your job as a team leader is you have to know how to run a profitable real estate business better than anyone else in your office. And your job is to help other agents grow their business. And when that happens, the office becomes more profitable and it becomes more productive. And that's people are attracted to growth. I learned really quickly that you want to focus on building a profitable business, not just a big business that's kind of out of control. And so one of the things I learned was that if you want to build a profitable business and lead with revenue and like have control of your time, it's all about your database. Your database. So there's 4 laws of a database that we can talk about. And then once you build that database, which is like, it's like the one thing that matters in real estate is your database. It's the only thing that matters. It's an asset that you can sell if you ever decided to get out of real estate. And so, yeah, so we can talk about the 4 laws of building a database and then how we incorporate internet leads into that if you want to.
Yeah, I think that would be the best way to do it. And just anybody who doesn't know what a database is here, it's a database is going to be your contact list for people who already know, like, and trust you in a system where you have all their contact information that you can kind of feed daily, feed on a normal basis. And what I mean by feed is contact them through, sending them direct mail, meaningful text messages, a phone call, invitation to an event, an email, maybe of a market report of their neighborhood. So things like that of value where somebody is actually getting value from you versus just compared to an internet lead, somebody clicked on a Facebook ad or somebody clicked on your Google ad and they just kind of entered into your life. They don't know who the heck you are. They don't even know you're about to contact them. So that's kind of the difference between the two.
Yeah, you're exactly right. As a database is just a list of all the people you already know.
Yep.
Think of like your wedding list or like your Christmas mailing list. Like who are people you send Christmas cards to, right?
Yep.
People that you genuinely care about. So when it comes to when you first get into real estate, or if you're an agent right now and you don't have a database, that's one of the biggest ahas that I've seen in my time as a team leader, is how few of agents actually have a database. And the ones that do are running businesses that like bring them joy, they're making money, like they're living their best life possible, a life by design, versus agents that don't have a database and every day they're struggling to find new business. Because at the end of the day, there's only 3 ways to build a real estate business. Is either number 1 is you're going to just sit around and wait for business to find you, which is the preferred method of most realtors, is they just sit around and wait for stuff to happen. They wait for people to reach out to them. They wait for someone to call them, right?
I gotta
Number
add
2,
something to I gotta add
yeah,
something.
go ahead.
When I first got in this business, that's how I thought it worked.
Yeah.
In my previous business, that's how it did work. Like people just called me because I was the only person who provided that service that I offered.
Yep.
And in real estate, it's so different.
So different. Yeah.
So option number 1 is to sit there and hope that people call you. Number 2.
Yeah. Number 2 is you can buy leads. So if you don't want to sit around and wait for business to find you, you can go buy leads. Or the third option is you can just build a database and then you can be really proactive and put names into it and systematically communicate with it. So you have one of 3 options. You either sit around, you either buy internet leads, or you create a database. So when you are thinking about, okay, I want to like take my database to the next level, or I want to start a database, the first law is you have to first build it. And so just think of everybody that you know and go through your cell phone, go through your Facebook list, go through, like, your insurance agent should be referring you business, right? My dentist should be sending me business. I already have their phone numbers and email addresses. I have all their information. So you want to build your database, and the goal is you want to get it to 201 agents. And the reason is because the company I work for just did a huge study, and they looked at what the average gross commission income was and how many contacts those agents had in their database. And what they came away with it is that if you have 201 people in your database, you will gross $100,000 in real estate.
Yep.
It's the 201 is like the magic number. It's not 200, it's not 205, it's 201. So your goal is to get 201 people in your database as quickly as possible. And then you want to consistently feed your database. So every day when you're coming in, you're doing your lead generation, you want to be in your database. You want to be adding someone's birthday. You want to be adding their home anniversary. You want to be putting in notes. You want to be calling them. You want to be engaging in it. You don't just like set it and forget it. Every day you're just getting it better and better and better and better. The third law of a database is you have to systematically communicate with it. And so, like in The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, which is a great book I recommend everyone reading, I've actually read it 10 times.
You
I
read
have
you read
like,
it 10 you read it
oh
10
yeah,
times?
oh yeah, yeah. I've got like 5 copies sitting around my house, and it's like they're all highlighted and they've got sticky notes in them. Yeah,
Oh
right
yeah, I got a
there.
bunch of stuff in there.
Yeah, yeah. So read
They're
that book
looking a little
10 times.
rough.
In the book, it talks about how you want to systematically touch your database 33 times a year, right? Like all those 201 contacts, you want to touch them 33 times a year through a number of different ways. All you want to do is you just want to make sure that you're top of mind. Because if you're not number one or number two when they think of real estate, you don't exist, right? Because
Yep.
they don't have a lot of brain capacity to keep 10 different realtors just like in the top of their head, right? So you also just want to communicate with them. Keller Williamson came out and said a couple years ago that 33 wasn't enough, and now it was 36. Now you got to touch database 30 or basically 3 times a month. Everyone in your database should be hearing from you. And then this last year they came out and said, now the number is 52. Like a minimum once per week, you should be systematically touching every single person in your database. And the goal is to not just like blast them like with random stuff. You want to segment your database and create different groups. Like for example, in my database, I have past clients that live in Minnesota and I have past clients that live in Wisconsin. And I want to send out once a quarter, just like a 1-pager full of like really good stats and information. But I don't want to send Wisconsin stuff to my Minnesota people, and I don't want to send Minnesota stuff to my Wisconsin people. I want to make it more relevant to where they live. So I'm segmenting my database to have all these different tags, so I can pull groups and I can send, different things to them that's more relevant to where they're at in our relationship. So you want to systematically touch your database 52 times a year. And then number 4, the fourth law of a database is you want to service all the leads that come in. The goal is to set appointments. Every day when you're working in your database and you're talking to people, you want to be top of mind. Your goal is to set appointments, to sit down and have a face-to-face conversation with somebody about selling their house or helping them buy a house. And so that's where you want to start your business. Now what's going to happen is you're going to max your database or the people in your database. You're going to be like, I don't know anybody else. Like, or maybe I only know like 10 people. I don't have like a ton of friends. I don't know a lot of people, or I just moved to the area, right? Then you want to incorporate internet leads. And internet leads is a great way to build a real estate business. It's a really great way to build a real estate team. When an agent joins a real estate team, there's 2 things that they want from their team. Do you know what they are, Dan? What are the 2 things every agent wants?
Leads and leverage.
Yes.
Woo!
they want leads and they want leverage. And
Yep.
so they don't care where the leads are coming from. If they get people, like a steady flow of people coming into their world that they can then convert, they're going to love that all day long, right?
Yep.
But like for an individual agent like myself, I'm going to start doing more internet leads. I'm going to focus though on internet leads that don't cost a lot of money.
Yep.
Because you can spend $10,000 a month buying internet leads from some of these bigger companies. Yeah.
So, 2 things before we get too deep into the internet lead world. One thing is for somebody to join our team, they actually have to have 200 people in their database, which is kind of interesting because you and I didn't connect about this before this call. Like we didn't go through this and what we're going to talk about. Isn't that funny? We both use the exact same number in both of our worlds for bare minimum size of database to basically make it in this business. Like making $100,000 is not just making it. Like, not gonna lie, that's a good income, but it's also that's like kind of baseline expectations for anybody on our team. They don't even join the team. Like we don't let them get leads from the team unless they have that. And also the team very much believes in everybody building their own database. And which is kind of funny because it's like we're a team, we're on a team, but yet we're teaching people on the team to build their own businesses within the team concept, which is like reverse what I think a lot of people think what teams are if they're not educated on what a team is. So that's kind of cool. The other thing is You were talking about how many touches a year that each person has. In our database, if we have that person's full array of contact information, they're actually getting touched 66 times per year. That's,
Awesome.
I don't know how much,
Wow.
that's like 1.25 times per week that every single person is getting a touch from us.
Yeah.
And if they follow me on Facebook and Snapchat and social media, they're probably getting hit probably closer to 400 or 500 times a year, because I purposefully post on my Facebook at least once a day, every single day. And so like
Dang.
if people go, if anybody goes follows my page, they'll see that I'll post at least once a day on my story. You'll almost never go on my Facebook page and see something not on my story that you can click on and see what I'm doing, or Facebook post within the last 24 hours. That is very purposeful. I don't just go on there, and personally I'd rather do other things than post on Facebook, but I view it as my work.
Yeah.
And my Facebook, and I'm sure you look at your Facebook the same way, Lisa. You and I just talked about how we have Facebook groups ourselves. We're feeding our database at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And agents who are watching this, don't overthink your database. Your database is also, you want to have your core 200 people in your database, but also your Facebook is another database of your friends, family, people who know, like, and trust you, that you can also feed on a daily basis. Good content out there, which is free. And that's why we started this whole call, this whole video. And I know this is going to be titled Internet Leads, but that's why we talked about for the first half of this conversation on database first, because it doesn't cost hardly anything. Your ROI on your database is going to be so much higher, and it's going to pay off dividends. And you talk about if you can really nail your database, how you're going to live your life, and you're going to be able to have a business that's very what's the word for it? Predictable. And that's
Mhm.
my favorite thing about the database.
Mhm.
Personally, we don't really do much on internet leads, because I've taken in my head, I've taken what I would spend on internet leads, and I've thrown it back at me, the people who have gotten us to the point where we're at right now in my database. We'll throw awesome events.
Mhm.
We host like educational seminars, like we do all that stuff so that we can give back to our database and just continue to grow that. And I
Mhm.
think there's kind of I don't remember the exact number, but I think if like more than 70% of your business, like if you're doing your calculation at the end of the year and you do 25 deals and 20 of those come from your database and only 5 of them come from outside of your database, you're not actually advertising enough outside of your database. You're
Mhm.
too database heavy, because if you're,
Yep.
like you said, if you are getting all your business from just your database, your business isn't going to grow in a fashion that you want it to, right?
Mhm.
If that's something you want to do. If you want to grow your business, you're going to have to start looking for business outside of just your database, because you're not going to be able to grow your database quick enough to expand your business.
Yep, you're exactly right. Especially if you want to build a team. Like, like here's the thing, it's every single internet lead you get goes into your database.
Yep.
So like you have to have a database built before you can just go and like pull in, because otherwise what happens is that agents are throwing money out the door. I'm actually watching it firsthand with somebody that I know that's very important to me, is they're being spent, they're getting leads from a large website, right? But then like once she answers the phone and talks to the person, if they're not like, yeah, let's go look at the house right now, then all of a sudden that information is lost, and they're not keeping track of those names. And it's like, you're just throwing money out the door. And so when you want to go after internet leads to build your business, you want to make sure that you have systems in place to systematically communicate with those leads like once a week.
Yep.
Honestly, I mean, it's like once a week. And it's so funny because this morning I was actually listening to an agent talking about converting internet leads at a high level. Is the goal of internet leads is to make money. So like we can be really good at like getting them in and talking to them, but the goal is then to make money off these leads. So for every dollar you spend in your real estate business, you should be getting a 4 times return. So if you spend $1, you should be getting $4 back. A lot of agents are actually losing money because they're paying so much money for these internet leads, and they don't necessarily have a system in place to nurture those leads. Because you're going to nurture those leads forever,
Yep.
forever. You're never going to stop unless they unsubscribe or tell you to go away or they die. So you got to build a system, and then everyone is getting, you're communicating with a high level, and you're constantly offering what we call doors of value. So you're not actually selling them, you're providing value to them,
Yep.
right?
I think you should say it again because
Okay.
any it took me a long time to understand that too. And um, getting around, I think it's a huge mindset shift
Mhm.
where we go from I need business to I need to help people with what they want first. Like that's number one is like, okay, I need to somebody's internet lead came in. Well, why do they click on that? Let's figure out what their needs are and go from there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so on average, when you look at an internet lead, it's great because you're just feeding your database. So you can go from a really small database to a really large database in a short period of time. It's going to cost you some money. But if you have the systems in place and you can nurture those leads at a high level, there's going to be tons of business for you for like the next 10 years. And then if you stay in relationship with those people, they're going to continue to work with you over and over, and they're going to refer people to you. But what happens is it takes a lot of effort on the front end with internet leads, because oftentimes we'll reach out a couple of times and we don't hear anything, and then we say, "Oh, I'm done with that lead. That's a bad lead." There's no such thing as a bad lead
Yep.
ever. There's no such thing. If they have a pulse and they are alive, they're a great lead.
Yep.
65% of the population are homeowners and 35% of the population are renters. So the chances of them buying and owning a house are pretty high, right? um, yeah, so you want to make sure that you systematically communicate with them. You're offering things of value, and you're constantly giving them a door to walk into to raise their hand to a conversation with you, a showing with you, or a listing consultation with you, right? So like things you can be offering them are, would you like to have a conversation with my lender? Would you like to have a list of the top 50 things to do to your house to get it ready for sale? Hey, I saw you clicked on this house. When would you like to go take a look at it? Oh, hey, I'm doing an open house this weekend in that same neighborhood of that home that you liked on 3rd Street. Swing by and check it out, take a look at it. You're constantly giving them something to respond to. And so the challenge is that you got to have that system in place, and you got to have it run in like forever, right?
Yep.
If you can do that though, and you have the right leverage and the right systems in place, then it just becomes a game. It's fun because you're going to have business in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now because of all of the work that you did generating and following up and staying in touch with those people.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
we're finding that right now is just like one of the things we do, and this is not necessarily directly tied to internet lead generation. Well, it kind of is. We do a lot of stuff on Facebook, but I would call that more database driven. Is we have I have a virtual assistant that'll actually go through my Facebook, and we're always hosting events or also are always giving out a piece of value. So right now we're doing like the wealth series. It's a basically a podcast will come out for 8 weeks straight where they get to listen to it, and then we hop on Saturday mornings and kind of talk through with a group of people. We're doing that right now, and our virtual assistant will basically has been messaging people for like 2 years straight now. We'll just DM like 35 people a day, inviting them to our events that we're doing. And we just got a lead yesterday from my Facebook. Somebody DM'd me off Facebook. I honestly have never met this person before. And I handed them off to Devin on her team, and Devin asked them, "Oh, how have you heard about us? Like, why did you message us?" And they're like, "We don't really know Dan, but he's been messaging us for like 3 years now, and he's been really good at bugging us every like 2 months on inviting us to stuff. And we've never went to anything, but we figured we hit him up."
Mhm.
Like, that's the importance of follow up and keeping in touch, regardless, because you never know who's going to be the buyer or seller at that time.
Yeah.
Can you
One
kind
that,
of
yeah. I
would
was
you?
just going to share a story real quickly with you
Yeah.
that right online with what you said. So I remember this story when I was like, this was like a pivotal moment for me when I was starting in my real estate career. There was an agent in my office named Scott Hawkins, and he was like following up with this person for like years and like leaving voicemails, like they never answered, they never responded. And then what happened was those people, those buyers or sellers, they went into an open house, and
He
the
was
agent
there.
at the open no, the agent at the open house said, "Welcome, like what brings you in? Do you have a realtor?" And they go, "Oh yeah, Scott Hawkins is our realtor." So then after the open house, the agent called Scott Hawkins and said, "Hey, your clients came through. I just want to let you know. It looks like they were pretty interested in the home." Scott goes, "They haven't answered my phone call like ever." But when they were asked, "Who's your agent?" he was the first person that came to mind because he simply just left them voicemails consistently over time. So
That I love that so much.
yeah,
Would you
it's
kind of want to
powerful.
talk about would you want to kind of want to talk about the cost and the ROI difference between database and in internet lead generation?
Well, internet leads are just they're expensive, right? Like the cheapest way you can get internet leads right now, I would say, is if you're going to pay for them, like paid ads, is through Facebook.
Yep.
Facebook and Instagram. I don't know a lot about Instagram, so I won't speak on it, but I know that Instagram is a really powerful platform. Opcity is another one where if you're going to buy leads, what's great about Opcity is you don't pay like a monthly fee, you just pay like a referral, but it's a hefty referral, right? It's like
It's like
40%.
40?
I think it's going up to 40. Like I've heard it's been as high as 40. I don't know. I
Oh,
don't use them.
oh my gosh, that's painful to hear.
It's really high. So, but yeah, first a lot of agents are like, well, I don't care. I'd rather have something to do and I'd rather have some money than no money, right?
Yep.
Um, so when you're thinking about spending money on internet leads, just know that there's so many different companies out there that are going to promise you leads. But at the end of the day, you guys, to be honest with you, like 98% of all consumers look on Zillow. So like the most expensive leads are usually like the best leads, which is Zillow, right? And the bigger the city, the bigger the area you are, the more expensive they are, right?
Yep.
So you just got to make sure that if you're going to spend money on internet leads, you've got a lot of money set aside, you've got the systems in place, you've got a person in place like an ISA, because what's happening is as you're sending out all these doors of value, giving people opportunities to raise their hand, if someone has to be like monitoring that
Yep.
and like tracking that and like adding to it or doing whatever the necessary steps are. So you got to have those systems in place. Um, but yeah, for every dollar you spend in your real estate business, you should get a $4 return. That's
Yep.
like the ROI you should be shooting for.
Gotcha.
It's not always about like gross commission income either. I'll just say this real quickly because $100,000 sounds like a lot of money in real estate, right?
Yep.
Like, ooh, $100,000 gross commission. But what you're not thinking about is, okay, first off, you have your brokerage, you got to pay all your expenses, you got to pay like referral fees, you got to pay the government. So if you're making $100,000 in gross commission, you're probably only really walking away with about $50,000 that you
Yep.
can live off of, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So you got to know your numbers. You got to be tracking like your profitability of your business with the P&L so that you know when you're ready to start investing and spending money on internet leads.
Yep.
Because oftentimes you get yourself into this contract that's like for a year and you automatically just signed up to give a company $12,000 a year and you don't maybe have the systems in place to actually take care of those leads or to nurture those leads at a high level.
Yep. I love
So,
that. Like,
mhm.
kind of we have 2 minutes actually before Zoom is kicking us off because
Oh,
I have the free version of Zoom, sorry.
I
Uh
do too. Lead with revenue.
exactly. So one thing I
Yeah.
wanted to add is like if anybody does have internet lead generation, you can connect that platform like Zillow, for example, to a CRM system and
Mhm.
have that CRM system actually auto feed them text messages and stuff, and also send you reminders to call those people. So I think that's a huge I mean, this whole entire call has been about building a system around your lead generation. That's the only way it works effectively. Um,
Yeah.
and then keeping in holding that ROI accountable to making sure you're actually making money off of the lead generation.
Yeah. Yeah. With internet lead, I know we've got 1 minute left. So with internet lead conversion, if you look at averages, it's like a 2 to 3% conversion with internet leads. So if you get 100 internet leads on average, you're going to close 2 or 3 of those people.
Yep.
If you focus on your database, it's a 12-to-2 ratio. So for every 12 people that you systematically communicate with, you're going to get 2 pieces of business from them. Right.
Yep.
And so you just look at just the simplicity and how much less work we have to do with the database. of people that we already know. It just makes more sense. And internet leads are great because I'm closing deals today that I sold homes to 10 years ago that were internet leads. And we
Oh,
have great relationships.
see, I
So
was gonna mention that too. I think internet leads, one of the secrets of internet leads is that we also look at the very short-term ROI. There's a massive like the person that I closed a deal on when my first deals was like a $500,000 listing. They're gonna sell with me 10 years down the road when they sell again. They were a realtor.com lead.
yeah, yeah.
So
My first
oh,
lead ever was an internet lead, and they've